This is the Ponderous Brickthinker with a castle update. And the update is, I have assigned myself 3 goals to accomplish for this episode. I have assigned myself 3 goals to try and push me along this project, the largest that I have ever undertaken, and try and create something cohesive. And the 3 goals are to try and make the ruins of this corner, make some progress as to what the final look will be for the basement for underwater nature, and I do want to make some progress on the Tower of Fun. So this here was created in the previous episode to suggest what the previous building looked like, and my plan is to have a bay here and another here and one facing this way. And for this bay to be the most complete and more run down as it goes to the outer edges. For that, I'm thinking of keeping most of the bottom part intact to suggest that there was a wall there. But for this bay, to keep the light tan there, but not the brown and the dark orange that is in the back. On this bay, I'm thinking of not having most of the light tan there, and keeping at least the dark, or keeping the brown in there, and same for this area. I'm thinking just a hint of what the dark orange was there, just to kind of suggest, yes, this is what it overall looked like, but the hints are in different bays or different areas. I gathered some of the pieces, some of the more recognizable. I am going to keep this around to inspire what other parts of the castle can look like. Not that every fenestration is going to look like this, but to suggest what the other fenestrations can be based on or kind of be related to. So let me get started. Think of actually removing that much and build on top of that. For this here, luckily it's in ruin, so I don't have to think too much, just kind of build more into it in order to suggest that there might have been a purpose for this little outcropping right there. So I made some progress here, just putting the lower level of the wall in place, kind of suggesting where it's eroded with the use of slopes. And if you notice here, I don't have the luxury of having a too wide width for the wall as I have for this side. So I am going to make this the more rundown of the 3 bays, so that practically that is all that is there. But now it's time to put in the hints in the other bays as to what the whole structure looked like. And let's see, I believe I'm going to have 3 on this side and 2 studs here. Oh, I'm gonna need that. Let's see, so this is the most complete. And this one can be more run down. But also, this is the side where there's going to be more of the brown. So that can stay there. Let's put you here. And then maybe on this side. And then I do have the nougat to put in place. There. Okay. And then I just need 2 here. That there. I'm not even considering this in between part. Maybe that can appear somewhere else. But maybe a hint of brown there. And There. With, let's see, at least 1x2 brick with the log imprint to suggest it was there once upon a time. Then remove that. Do I need more hints? Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. It's not striking me yet as being done. Okay, so these are the ruins, and then Team Garden Pate came and did something that they wanted. On the other hand, there was also a lot of green coming up this way, and that could be my excuse that the green kind of swallowed this line of stud for that wall, so that I can build it high. But I'm just gonna lightly stack them to see how that looks. And usually I'm gonna probably put the darker green on the bottom. Just to give a hint. How high should it be? Higher? And then I can have something leafy coming down here through the walls, or through what used to be the fenestrations. And let's see how that looks. That is to say, in the future. Right now, I'm just placing bricks lightly. It is still in sketch mode. So this, if this looks good, then with more detail, it might look better, hopefully. But I believe that is pretty much how I want to leave it right now. So now for the basement for underwater nature. I have done this just to see if I can still make this work within 2 stud lines, to have it kind of almost horizontal. To me, for any other purpose, it could work, but it's just too much of a gap. The next part will be to see if hinging on a corner will realign this other corner to be over a stud, because so far it's ever so slightly off that not even the 1x2 with the central stud can catch it. So it is a very minute dimension. That's close, but it's still not over that stud. And it completely misses that one. And then right now it is as it should be. So I created this sketch using the quarter circle pieces. Somehow they're different curves, but they match right there. And so I'm able to secure them on this edge, but not here, because if you can look, this corner is pushing away the stud, so they're no longer aligned with the Lego grid. But over here, they line up barely, but it's 3 studs just with the transparent pieces, and then this one here's the 4th, which is almost the same as having them regular. So after this experimentation, I am looking at not using them as a flat surface, but trying and use them as they were intended for this kind of setup, where the wall is coming this direction. It's just a protruding or recessing feature of the wall. The other thing I wanted to note is that I am using the medium azure pieces, that they are pretty much, it's very bland. There's nothing to indicate their structure. There's transparency. It's in person, rather the same color. I think on the video, the transparency is more obvious and you can see more of the color behind it. But right now it is kind of very uniform. So that's one way of doing it. But I'm kind of looking at saying, hey, there's some structure going on here. And it becomes very obvious when I use magenta and probably any other color. But to kind of suggest, here's the rhythm, and it's a very strong point. And it doesn't have to be all the way. It can be a mixture of these, just so that it's kind of indicating there's something holding this transparent pieces together. Oh, the other part is, since I cannot connect the studs here, just because of distance between them, I won't be able to have a secure point here for the basement of the tower. It's going to be a weak point. The only strong points will be here. It's going to be quite a span to go from here to here and just kind of have everything here hang. A party can fake it with pieces just overlapping a little bit, but I think another approach will be best. Here is a possible layout using the transparent pieces as they are intended. As you can see, I have some gaps, but it's all connected. Though I could reduce the depth of this so that this is now meeting up there, kind of move it in that direction. But as you can see, it's all intact. Here I have the flat transparent pieces. Now that's kind of interesting that this works well, but it's also kind of boring if you just have a flat wall. Again, it also has to do with the rest of the architecture to see if this element happens again. Otherwise, this is going to be the most plain part of the building because it's just flat. Yes, it's transparent and it's a window, but here, there's some kind of excitement, even though it's a less volume of the basement than I would like. It has some interest. The other thing is inverting the dark blue transparent pieces so that for no particular reason, but just to break it up a bit. So the other part I need to point out is that there is going to be a floor above this. So depending on the tower, it could be flat. It might follow the curve. It's still unknown at this point. But if it's flat and if it follows this line, it's going to be a lot of shadow. Just kind of hiding the basement. So I want to rethink this and perhaps find a way to raise this up and have it over the edge. So that way it can be a little bit more obvious that there's something going on there. But, just trying to see what else is possible with this basement. Here's a quick mock-up. Everything is barely held in place. It does give me an idea of what it looks like when that line becomes the starting point for the transparent pieces and they are protruding outward. I temporarily they're just resting in there. But just to suggest a wall and to see how much light gets in there as of now. And it is very dark. But the thing is, I'm still looking through the gaps because I don't know if it's enough transparent pieces to really make it the transparent basement that I want it to be. But even with these plates there, it does give me an idea of how much shade is going to be in there at this level. The next phase will be to double up these right here and see if that increases the light levels. Here's version 2 of the mock-up. It has the double high transparent pieces. I placed a coral piece in there to see how much light is actually getting there, how well it is visible. But it's still very dramatic lighting. There are spotlights, but not a whole lot. And the floor level might not all be flat, but this is the worst case scenario. But it does give me a lot to think about. I like how you have the roof, and then above that is the structure. I think it will work well. The other thing I realized that the bottom level can have these smaller transparent pieces, but they can combine to make a larger piece on the upper level. That's considering if it's only going to be 2 levels high, but I think that can work. And by having the larger level more open, it should let in more light. So I'm going to leave it here, and that way I can mull it over to see if I want to go in a different direction or continue here and develop the idea. So the next up is the Tower of Fun. For the Tower of Fun, I am thinking of continuing the ruin aspect over here to create some levels of ruins and new architecture, but to play with the solid and void. In the previous episode, I wasn't too sure. It was going to be partial solid, partial open, just trying to enhance the fun part. But with ruins, I can have walls coming up for no current logical reason other than to say that wall was there before and it was not torn down for some reason. So I can have different levels. This being the central part, it could have been a tower and then the outer wall. So it can have 2 levels, and then the newer architecture will be on top of that. So for right now, I'm going to put bricks in place, much like I had it here to suggest where the wall is. I'll do that here just to kind of give me a frame of reference to where the walls are going to be, where they don't need to be, and just see if there's any possibilities. The other positive aspect, I can hint what was the top of here to suggest why was this important to do. I know the meta reason why I needed to do that, but what was the reason the first Lego people did that needed this to occur? So that's the next goal. I created a rough draft of what the first level of the inner tower can look like. It's rather simple. I do not plan on keeping it all brown, but that is just something to think about. It kind of looks exciting when there's a lot of openings to look through. The wall here is a simple 2 high 1x4. It is going to be something to think about to make this a bit more interesting, because right now it's kind of flat, especially when there's so much going on with the foundation that all of a sudden it's just one color. So that can be thought about in terms of what to do at this part where the wall is not going to be substantial, so that it's harder to put a lot more bricks on there. So it's whatever bricks are there, they have to do a lot in terms of, making it look interesting. So the next step is I want to just go one more level and see how that looks. And then once I'm comfortable with the tower, I'm going to just take away parts till I get a ruin look to it and kind of just think about it. I do not want to rush ahead because I still haven't figured out all the aspects of fun, of the Tower of Fun. For the Tower of Understanding, I had kind of, here are the 4 elements, and that's how the architecture is going to reflect that. I still need to kind of visualize what this tower is going to be, what are the purposes of every part of it, so that it can look like there is some design to it, a purpose. Otherwise, it'll be just stacking bricks, which is what I'm going to do right now, because I just want to see how high this is. And the main difference is when you get this, okay, and then I could go that high, it works as a structure, but I want to do a little bit more in terms of telling a story that this team came together, built this castle, and this castle reflects them. The other thing that I have mentioned is that part of the tower is going to be breakaway. Everything here is still removable, still being thought about, but that part is still forthcoming. So once I know for sure what is going to be built, when I do build it, then I'll start making the takeaway part, or what part is going to be lifted and what's going to be remaining. Especially since if this is going to stay, if the brown is going to be low enough, this can be the foundation to which the upper tower can rest on and kind of fit into. So it is still a work in progress in terms of what part is going to be taken away so that it can be safely transported. So now the second level. Here's the second level. I think it should have been opposite. The first level should have been more enclosed and the level above it more open. But it does give me an idea of the volume this takes up. The other thought is I had taken care to make sure that there's enough space for the stairs coming up all the way to here. Now I need to kind of resolve in my mind, how do I want to treat the stairs inside the tower and all the towers? Because I do want to try for some realism, but at the same time, it is rather limited once it's built, and that I might even go further in or just limit myself to 2 widths of studs to make the details of the wall. It is still, I need to find out how much space an actual staircase uses up, or is it all staircase just for this square right here? So that is part of the next phase, but for right now, it works in terms of letting me know how much space, how it looks like with something there, and that with some more tweaking, what can I do with it in terms of color, how much detail, and other things, so that, yeah, it's developing. I don't know exactly what's going to stay in the final run, but it's helping me visualize what this tower is going to be. In terms of, how much light is coming through, what can I see through it? For example, if I clear up this part and it becomes more open so that you could see to the other side where there might be something interesting. It's just layers upon layers. I find that more fun than a solid wall. And I will also like to see what the previous structure was here and maybe over here, since if this was here to guard this tower, then there should be something here in the first architecture to describe, yeah, this kind of needs some fortification. So that's my plan for the next episode. This area, this corner, and since there is a first architecture, maybe there is something here. Maybe the first architecture or the first level is the earth, which is probably here, but move it there and see how that looks. That is the extent of my brown bricks. I do have a few more, but I'm going to have to decide how I'm going to use them in the final run. This is pretty much almost set in terms of the idea, maybe a few more details, a little bit more brickwork, but something like that, something where it combines all the brown bricks that I used, put them here and here, or at least start developing the idea of how to use this tower. So I believe this will be it for this episode. Pretty good progress. I have thoughts churning as to what to do with the different aspects of the castle, especially since they are going to be new and original and still in progress. But I think this is a good move in the right direction. So this has been the Ponderous Brick Thinker. Thank you for stopping by. If you liked the episode, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see how this project progresses, go ahead and subscribe and sign up for notifications to when the next one drops. And see you next time.